Greetings. Today is Wednesday, February. Let's see, Saturday, so 28th. So must be February 25th, 2026. And I'm just going to show a method here of what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is making little spacers to go between my rebar and the actual foam form. I'll show just a quick look at what that's going to be like. Right now, what I'm doing, I'm cutting my foam. So I have a bunch of scrap pieces of this. This is the foam form material that we'll be using, and we'll shotcrete against this. This is actually sit on the inside of the dome and on the inside of the axis. So I did pick up a thermal cutter. I looked at a whole bunch of different ways on YouTube, and I've been talking to people, and this seems to be the most effective way. This actually will go up to 500 degrees C, and so I just have a scrap here I'm going to cut. And so these spacers are basically 1.5 inches across and 2 inches high. Of course, this foam is 1 inch thick, and this is going to be the standoff. So I'm just going to take and of course, it's just blowing today. That really makes it exciting. Not. So what I did is I built a jig here. So this is just a 2x6, and I measured 1.5 inches in, and then I just tacked on some 2x4s. So I have basically a pattern here to cut on. So I will go ahead and cut one of these. I'm just going to look at just some scrap. So I'm going to give it a minute to warm up. Basically, it cuts like butter, so it's just kind of going right through that the foam, and I'm running it against the board down below. So again, this is my 1.5 dimension. I'm going to take it over here. So I'll just take it here, and what I did with this is I took just another piece of 2x6, and I put a 2x4 on the backer, then I put a 2x6, and so this space in here is 2 inches. So then I just what I've been doing is I've been taking, stacking about 4 of these on top of each other, and just cutting several of them at a time. So here's a piece that I cut, and how this will work is, and I've talked to a bunch of people. A lot of people are doing this method where they're taking a piece of just the foam form and cutting in that and using that as their spacer. So if you say that this is the outside of the dome or annex, this would be the inside. So then a piece of, and we're using nylon ties. Most people I've seen are using actual iron wire ties, which my experience with that is Lindell home I built in Washington State. When we did the footings on that, we used kind of like a big nail to go between the form boards, and then we poured concrete. And then when that was done, we pulled those boards off, and that left a piece of iron or steel that would go all the way through the concrete wall. And what I did on the outside, I used just a powder material that I wetted. It's like anchor set, and that would cover that. But what I found on the inside is when I did on the inside that sometimes those would rust, so I get rust coming through on everything. If I just painted an area, I might have rust coming through on that. I ended up framing that all in, so it wasn't a big deal. But I did take and I drilled into those and knocked them out of there. I didn't knock them out, but I just drilled them out far enough that I could fill that cavity with this anchor set material. So what'll happen is this nylon tile will go through again. This will be the outside. The shotcrete will be coming in this direction. The foam form is going to rest on this spacer. Then this nylon tile will go through, and we'll have probably like a 3/4 inch or an 1.25 inch board that'll go along the outside. Then we'll go through and we'll tie those on, and this will go through across the whole sheet. So everybody does this a little different. Almost all the people I've talked to are actually just taking a board and butting it up against the red steel. I've got a guy that's I'm hiring to do my shotcrete. I'll see what he's doing on the forms he's doing. What he actually has is like a piece of steel angle iron, and I'm not sure how he must set that on the inside of the red steel, and has an angle, comes out and put he calls them whalers, which is reinforcing boards. And then that's what these would do, is go and tie around that board so it'll hold the foam forms up, so when you shotcrete into it, it won't distort and stuff. One thing he said is that these pieces of foam can compress, and I've looked at a lot of videos and just haven't really seen that. So I guess it depends on how tight you make your whatever you're using, whether you're using a nylon tie or you're using just tie wire to hold this whole thing together. So we'll see how that works. He's been sick. It sounds like he was pretty sick the last couple of days. So we'll see if he's going to be ready to do this tomorrow. That's all I know at this time. Of course, doing things alone, it takes 10 times as long to do it by yourself. But we'll see when I get some more hands on this, how fast this process will. Again, they're 4x8 sheets, so I made this. This is a 8-foot long 2x4, or 2x6 rather. And then I just use chunks of 2x4, like right angles with that. And this is an 1.25 spacing, so it should go pretty fast. And again, this was just a way to make cut these smaller pieces so I just cut them off and drop them down in there. And of course my goal is, what my plan is just to do foam forms up, and what the shotcrete we do is we're going to do it in layers. So we'll do maybe an 8-foot layer. I'll have to look and see how tall my floor joists are and see how tall that is. So it'd be nice to be able to get up just at least to that floor support there, and then maybe go a little bit higher than that, but just shotcrete into that, do the footing, and the footings at the bottom are going to be 16 inches to go all the way out to the edge of the footing. It'll make it a lot more effective when we put the waterproofing on, because it just has a straight sheet that goes down. There's also a paraseal, it's called, that's just like a rope seal. So I'll scrub down and blow out all my rebar holes that I've got drilled into the concrete here, and get all the biologicals and water out of that, because those will all be filled in when we shotcrete. But I would like to have just one wall done and only foam form up to a little bit above where that wall is going to end. And my concern is that if we put up all the foam forms and then we get a buttload of snow, well, the foam forms are going to be stuck outside, and I'm not comfortable with that process. So I just want to get it up and up, rent a pump to come in, have Steve shoot up to that level, and then if anything comes after that, we'll of course after that we'll start putting up the next level of foam, unless of course we have a lot of snow. In that case, we'll just pull off. But it's been a great winter so far for building. Have gotten a lot done. And that's all I know, guys. I'll post this on my YouTube, probably my Facebook page, and I have a Facebook that is just for this build. And that's all I know, guys. Have a good upcoming weekend. Bye.